Hello and welcome to the Barrett channel, and a welcome back to all our regular subscribers. Today I want to talk about the USA and Huawei, but before I do, I'd just like to say a big thank you to all those people who view our videos, and a special big thank you to all you out there who support our channel. You can support us in three ways. One, directly using WeChat, which I'll put the code on the screen. Two, buy me a coffee. And three, by becoming a Patreon. We really appreciate all the support that you give us. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about Huawei. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure you all do, but in case you don't, Huawei is a large telecommunications company here in China. They are the biggest here in China, and they are at the forefront of 5G technology. And about a year ago, America decided that they wanted to exclude Huawei from their 5G infrastructure over concerns about national security. Now, as a sovereign nation, they have every right to do that, and that's completely their decision. However, what they also did, they passed some legislation to stop American companies, American technology companies, dealing with Huawei. So basically, Huawei were not able to buy certain chips and components from American companies. One of the companies that got affected in that was also Google. So Huawei are now also not able to buy the Android operating system to use on their consumer handsets. Additionally to that, America also put a lot of pressure on other countries around the world to try and persuade them also not to use Huawei equipment. And now on Friday, so we're now in May 2020, and on Friday of last week, America decided to impose even more restrictions against Huawei. So what it has now done, it's trying to pass legislation that will prevent other countries or companies in other countries selling components to Huawei. So if any American design is used in those components, or any American made machinery is used in components, they're now suggesting or saying that these companies or countries can't also not allowed to sell to Huawei. And they're doing all this under the disguise of national security. Now I would ask the question here, why is it down to America to decide what companies sell what components to Huawei? How is let's say, for example, Germany or France or Japan or Korea, how is it down to America to decide what they sell to China based on a national security issue that is meant to only affect the US? I really don't see how what Japan sells to China, to Huawei in China, how this is a national security issue for the USA. To me, it's obviously the USA trying to limit the business capabilities or the ability for Huawei to conduct business. Personally, I think if the USA has any grievances about trade here, they should address this through the World Trade Organization, the WTO. The other question I would ask is, why aren't some of these countries, these other countries, standing up to the USA about this? Is it that these other countries are being threatened in some way by the USA? It seems to me that the USA are trying to dictate to other countries and other companies what they can and can't do as regards to selling product to China. And it seems to me this is nothing at all to do with national security. It's to do with more of trying to restrict the business that Huawei does. If what the USA are suggesting that this is a national security issue, then all America need to do is ban or forbid the use of Huawei equipment in their own 5G telecommunications infrastructure. So if it was just a national security issue in the States, it would be very easy for the USA just to ban the sale of equipment within the USA. But taking these further steps, they're not disrupting the telecommunications infrastructure business of Huawei. They're also disrupting their consumer business by stopping Google from supplying Android to their so I really think that this national security issue is just a red herring, and I'd now like to go on to discuss what in my opinion are the real reasons that the USA are doing this. So 5G technology is going to be a game changer in the world. It's potentially going to be the next industrial revolution, so to speak. This together with AI. Now, Huawei are the leading player in this field. They are way ahead of the USA, and they are probably 12 to 18 months in front of their European rivals, Nokia and Ericsson. And I think this is the real reason why America is so scared, because many experts say that the country that leads in this 5G and AI will be the next dominant power. Also, China as a country are far more ahead of pretty much the rest of the world with their 5G rollout. The three big telecommunications companies here have joined together, and they're rolling out 5G across China at an absolutely blistering speed. And I think this is going to be a huge thing for China in the future, because they're going to be, I would estimate, 1 to 2 years ahead of anybody else. So I think personally this is the real reason why the USA are bringing all these sanctions against Huawei. And if anybody doubts the sort of things I'm talking about here regarding Huawei and how far ahead they are with their 5G technology, you just need to go and have a look at the amount of patents that Huawei have registered and been granted, and also the amount of patents they have pending, and that sort of tells the story on its own. And I've heard also rumours that the USA or companies in the USA have maybe even thinking of trying to buy Ericsson or Nokia in order to give them a bit of a head start, because from what I understand, the USA is quite a distance behind Huawei and China on the 5G infrastructure and technology. And another thing I would say is, as regards to our national security, and I can understand countries have to make sure their telecommunications networks, especially in this 5G era, are secure. But what I would say is that I personally, from a technology point of view, it doesn't really matter that much which brand of equipment is used in the networks. I think it's more to do with the agencies in each country looking at their security, how secure they make those networks. But what I would say is that if a hacker wants to get into these systems, they will. Between the sort of network operators and the hackers, it's always a cat and mouse game. So I think it's more important that the countries implement robust security measures rather than the brand of equipment they are actually using. And I know for one that the UK has a special facility. It's a joint facility with Huawei and the National Security Bureau, or the National Security, the National Security Bureau in the UK. They have set up this sort of facility to test and security check all of Huawei equipment before it gets implemented in the network. As I said it earlier in the video, it's very obvious to me that this national security issue is a bit of a red herring. And I think what the USA are trying to do is, I think they're trying to limit the amount of business Huawei does. In effect, that will decrease the amount of revenue Huawei has, and the knock-on effect of that is that Huawei will have less to spend on R&D. And I think it's an attempt by the US to try and slow down the progress of Huawei in order to give the USA time to try and catch up or close that gap a little. So okay, let's talk about how this might have an effect on the US. So I think, and you've already seen a number of technology companies lobbying the US administration over this, because what you have to remember is these tech companies, people like Qualcomm, Google, you know, many tech companies, they sell billions upon billions of dollars worth of components to China every year. And I think by passing this legislation, that this is going to massively you know, reduce the amount of revenue these American companies will get from China. Also, you have to remember China is the biggest consumer market in the world. So I think the effect this will have on it will obviously cut the revenue into a number of these American tech companies, which in turn will give those American companies also less revenue and less funds to invest in developing new technology. So although it may cause Huawei to fall behind in its R&D, which I very much doubt, because I think that the Chinese government are very switched on to invest in R&D. So I think any shortfall in the Huawei R&D budget will be made up by the Chinese government. I don't know whether that will be the case in the USA. And the last thing I want to mention is that I personally think that China will retaliate over this. I really can't see the Chinese authorities just standing by and let the USA try to devastate one of their biggest, largest companies. And there are already noises coming out of the Chinese government that they are going to possibly, for a start, Boeing might not see any orders for their aeroplanes. I think they could hit Apple. Qualcomm will be severely hit. Already Qualcomm have lost quite a large share of the Chinese market, and I think that, you know, that will continue. So I think there's, in this video, I think I've made many points and I've prompted a number of questions. So please engage in the comments below. Tell me what you think, whether you're from America, whether you're Chinese, if you're from any other country in the world. It's really good. This is a subject that I'm really interested in, and it would be really great to sort of you know, get involved in some discussion with you guys. But as always, that brings me to the end of this video. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm immensely. If you like the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you're really into us, consider hitting those bells so you get a notification as soon as we release a new video. But as always, for now, take care.